What's good, everybody? Pete here at Spawn Fly Fish, and I am looking for the jig tires out there. Today, we're going to focus on jigs, and we're thinking coho, salmon jigs, all that good stuff. So, grab your vise, grab your tools. If you have some jigs handy, go ahead and grab those, and let's get ready to have some fun. We do have a lot to get through today, but let's start with this guy. Well, 12 millimeter Spawn articulated shank. Just going to get some 6/0 chartreuse thread going. And yes, this is where 140 would be great. All that good stuff. Use the thread that really makes you happy and that you have on hand. And there we go. All right, so we need a tail on this thing. And what we're going to tie today is just the most outrageous version of a jig you've ever seen. We're going to take the best of the fly tying world and apply it to the jigs. So again, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. This is the Spawn Polliwog tail in the new fluorescent yellow. Big fan. Big fan. There we go. Get the sucker tied right on there. I'm using, I don't know, let's call it 2/3 to 3/4 of that tail. And trim this out. So in the world of jigs, this is pretty interesting to me. I'm a big fan of anybody that's willing to put in a little extra effort to make their fishing more, specialized for the way they like to fish. And then, of course, to increase the success rate based on that too. And so I have a lot of respect for jig fishermen, jig tires, and especially those that pour their own jigs and all that good stuff. But here's what I don't quite get: you go to all that effort, you have these secret recipes of paint jobs that you go and put in there, and then with, I don't want this to sound rude, but then you tie pretty basic flies or jigs on top of that. Like I don't get it. If you're gonna go to that much effort, let's up this jig game a little bit, if you will, and tie something really cool. So I've got 7 feathers to start this off, and yes, we are tying a full-on feathered changer leggy boy style jig for coho. I know, who'd have thunk it, right? So there we go. We've got 7 feathers. So I'm working off of a bunch of saddles. And for this first section, I've got 5 chartreuse feathers and 2 white. But now, if you watched the last video, tied a changer for shark, and it's pretty straightforward, I think. And there's always a way to make it more interesting, more difficult, prettier, whatever you want to call it. I call it fun. I might be a little bit different. It's okay. We all have our quirks. Mine is I'm obsessed with tying bugs and flies. So here we've got some legs. These are crazy legs, and these are the Aquamarine, and they're tipped with fluorescent yellow. So you're gonna see here that they match really well with this whole fly as we get through it. And all I'm looking for here on this first shank is I'm expecting 3 wraps of that grouping of feathers. So if I'm thinking 3 wraps total, I want 1 behind the legs and 2 in front. What I'll do is set myself up that if the feathers are thin, or if I got a little extra space before I get into all the fluff, well, then I can get 3 in front. That's no big deal. All we wanted are these legs to kind of pop out the middle. So we get them in the front, and now they're out of my way. I'll take that first clean wrap of all feathers, and then you'll see we can relax those legs back, and it'll just flow right in front of them. So I've got my little water here. Always got to have that bowl of water on the tying desk. I'm going to coax all these fibers down now and be patient. Again, I've got 7 feathers per chunk. It's a lot of fibers. So go ahead, take the time to get them massaged down. They're all going the same direction at this point. Wet fingers do help. And we're just going to start wrapping. And we're going to keep all those feathers, all those fibers rather, flowing toward the back. So there's 1 wrap. Go ahead and undo the 2 wraps that we used to secure those legs out of our way. And as you can see, now they're out of my way. I'll just continue wrapping forward. So lost 1 feather there, got it back. You can kind of feel when these feathers, if your fingers slip or whatever, you should be able to feel it. If not, just keep a very close, watchful eye on what you're doing. So there's our 3 wraps, and just don't want to trap a bunch of unnecessary fibers in here, especially that fluffy stuff, because that will clog the hook eye or the shank eye, and that is what we do not want to do. In the world of making these flies move the best that they can to their fullest potential, do not clog the eyes. One cut, get rid of all that goodness. And this is, you know, when I'm tying these at home in the evening or whatever, and I'm taking my time, this is a lot of where the time consumption comes in. How clean and neat do I want these little spots here? And I'm a picky tyer, so I like that to be very clean, very neat. I would do my best today to not waste a bunch of your time on camera trying to keep these nice and pretty, though, trim them up and all that good stuff. So bear with me, we do have a lot going on. So at this point, got our legs tied in, got our feathers wrapped and tied off, but we do want to sort of freshen all those wraps. And remember, with 3 wraps of 5 feathers, you've got 15 wraps of feather. So it wouldn't surprise me if you need to just give it a little comb out. There we go. There's section 1. Not too bad, right? Hopefully you guys are all with me still. And there we go. So there's our first tail section. And we trim this thread out here. We do have some Loon hard head clear, as always. That little fiber right there, he's not going to stay. Gotta go. You get one that's unruly and doesn't want to be nice, well, too bad. We can just eliminate that problem, because it's not going to get better as we go. It's just going to be a little reminder for you that there's one fiber not in the right spot. All right, time to trim these legs. What I'm looking for on these tipped legs is to always, of course, maintain some of that tip portion that makes them hot. And I do want to get just to the end, if not just slightly past that tail where the tail ends. So just line that up, give it a chop, and voila, nothing to it. Now as we progress, what will happen is, because of that first cut, of course, maintaining the hot tips on there, is if we just follow suit and wash, rinse, repeat sort of mentality, we'll always be able to visibly see those hot tips on those legs. And that's why you buy them. So don't shortchange yourself and eliminate that. Added a 13mm shank now. Slip that bad boy back in. Snug down that jaw. We're ready for our second section here. What you don't see on camera is about 90 minutes worth of finding the right feathers and aligning the feathers. So I have 7 stacks of feathers in front of me for 7 sections. Right, so we're gonna have 3 shanks and then a very large hook that will get 4 sections of feather. Again, if you really want to dive into these flies, you know, these jigs, like this is where the prep comes in, right? It's the actual tying of these flies is not as difficult as some might think. The technique, once you've got it down, is fairly straightforward. Is truly in that prep step. So for, you know, if you're willing to pour your own lead, get your own paint, all that stuff, like, to me it doesn't seem too far to go to tie a little bit more of an elaborate jig. And so maybe you won't be as daunted with that process of selection and prep. I don't know, we'll find out. I hope some of you take on this challenge, maybe not to this full extent, but I'm simply trying to show that you don't have to do the same old just because you're fishing a jig for salmon. Like, put some flair into there, have some fun with it. Maybe I'm the oddball that thinks this is fun. I guess there's always that possibility too. I don't think so though. I think there's a lot of us. All right, second set of legs now. And same thing, just veil 2 legs over the thread, bring it up on top of the shank, split them, so we got 2 per side. And this time I'm going to stick a little bit closer to the middle of this shank, ever so slightly still back from middle, meaning toward the butt section, but pretty much in the middle. So at this point I fully expect to get 4 wraps of these feathers. They are slightly longer and they get slightly bigger as we go, but we'll see. So again, get those legs out of the way. Just takes a couple little wraps of strategically placed thread, and then make sure your feathers are lined up so that the quills are all in the middle there, and just start coaxing those fibers down. A little water on the fingertips, and we are rocking. These flies are time consuming, no question about it. I'm not arguing that. However, I dare say they're therapeutic to tie. You don't get to half focus when you tie these. Like you're in it. You got to be all committed, all in. And so at the end of it, you feel like you completed something. You know, you get that sense of accomplishment. At least I do. And they look great in a box, but they smack fish like there's no tomorrow. So if nothing else, I would say this: I challenge you all to at least attempt getting out of your comfort zone just a touch. If that means coming into the shop, talking about it for a little bit, finding some options, great. We invite you. Like we like that conversation. So by all means, please pop in, see us. Yeah, all right. I'm convinced I need to step outside my comfort zone, whatever it might be, on a more exciting jigs, or you know, want to sell a couple to your fishing buddies, like whatever it might be. I'm just saying, we can probably offer a little bit of info. There we have it. Again, with that, try to get as much done in that one cut as possible, and then the trim and the cleanup is just that much quicker and easier. There we have it. Love that little comb. Just going to sort of brush up first toward the eye of the shank, and then come back. And all that does is where those legs get tied in, sometimes that first wrap of feather around it wants to cling on to that. We're not going to let it. Just separate it. Everything will fall into place as long as your feathers are wrapped properly. And again, that's where that prep work comes in, taking your time, selecting the right size feathers, getting the right progression as you go up, and then, of course, stacking them properly too. Maybe at some point we'll get into a little video on that. For now, we got salmon moving, right? They're catching fish out in the big water and in the Columbia right now, so it's full on salmon vibes going off right now here in Ilwaco. And, we're not the only ones it's happening elsewhere, but we've got a little bit of time yet before they get into these really small systems and tributaries. When, you know, now's the time if this is something you want to enjoy during the winter, and our winters are notorious for being less than pleasant outside. So if you want to still be out there, the conditions aren't great. So the fishing has to be good. Well, do your part to make it as good as possible. And in my opinion, that starts here on the vise. But I might be biased. All right, so just go and get that a little trim. Make sure it's just shy of the other legs that we've already tied in. Looking pretty gnarly already. One more shank here. And this time we are going 14 millimeters. So at the tail, the very first one, we had 12 millimeter. This last one was 13. And our final shank for the back portion of this fly, of course, now size 14 millimeter. And you know, you can change all this too by going 9, 10, 11. You could go straight 9, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, whatever. Again, you got to make this work for you and for how you fish. If you're tying a show fly and you just want to put it in a box somewhere and set it on a shelf, well, you know, that first one you tie is probably not going to be the showpiece. So get some reps in, and then it will all become clearer for you. Tie down that arm, very secure, and ready for that next set of feathers. And this is not my typical MO of how I do this. If again at home, it's a different pressure. I mean, there really is no pressure. I got all the time I need, whatever it might be. I take a break if I want, go for a walk, get a cup of coffee, all that good stuff. But to tie this on camera, I have to have all these feathers, not just picked and set up, but stacked. And so the tricky part for me is once I've got feathers stacked, I don't let go of them. I don't put them down. I'm on to putting them on the shank or hook. And so this is a different feel, just, you know, putting it on camera even. It's kind of interesting. So it just makes you think about things a little bit differently. And in any skill set or art, whatever you want to view this, being able to see a little bit differently sometimes takes you to that next level. So don't be shy. Again, I challenge you all to at least try this in some form. After you see this shank, you'll realize, even if you just did this small bit that we're doing right now for the rear portion, it makes one heck of a fly. One, you know, really killer mini streamer sort of vibe. Awesome look to it too. All right. Next set of legs here, split them over, 2 on your side, and again we're going, or you know, closer to the center of that shank here, and same thing on my side. Bring down, nothing to it. Bring all 4 legs to the front. Give it 2 wraps of thread just to hold on. Keep it out of the way. We do a little feather work here. We'll bring them back into play. Still going with 7 feathers. I did forget to mention in this last section, we dropped out 1 chartreuse and added in a blue feather. And now we're going to drop another chartreuse and add another blue feather. So we're still at 7 feathers per section here, and we will be at 7 feathers for every single section as we go forward. So I guess you want to give this specific one a name, and this style that I'm using right now, meaning for the last 10 days, it'd be the 49er. There you go. Wrong colors for the football team. Right number for the feathers. And just make sure you're not trapping any of those beautiful fibers right there. There we go. Gotcha. Snuck that one in. Had to get it past the leg security right there. And now we'll undo those legs. Again, bring them back. And just continue wrapping those feathers right in front. Only thing you can do to get in trouble there is accidentally grab onto one of the legs and break it. I'm going to tell you this. Do not cry over spilled milk or broken rubber legs. It is not worth undoing all of your hard work simply to go in and put them in. Guess what? We're going to add so many legs to this thing before we're done. You will never even know that it was missing. Like, your OCD will heal. You'll be okay. I've been there. Got all those bad boys tied off. Again, just kind of find that happy place. Make sure you can see very well where you're going to cut. And if you can see it, by all means, get rid of all those butt sections, tag ends, whatever you want to call them. A little tidy work now. And you can see right there, at least I can, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it'll actually sort of part where those quills ended. And so you just let it tell you where to find that happy place of, no, these are actually supposed to be part of it, or these are supposed to be removed. You know, these feathers, as you play with them more and more, they'll start to talk to you. And I'm not saying in an AI creepy sort of way. I'm just saying, like, you get to read the way they react and move, and you'll just get better as you go. The more of these you tie, it just becomes another thing that's just a little bit easier each time. I assure you, the first couple of these that I tied back in the day were not that great looking. They worked, caught fish, but it's very easy to just be a little bit honest with yourself and go, man, I could make this part a little cleaner, this part a little better as far as my taper, you know, whatever it might be. You can always improve. You can always add elements, make it a little more interesting, make it swim differently. One of the ultimate customizable flies out there. So all you have to do then is make it work for you. And that's what we're doing today. We're going, hey, this may, you know, not just for flies. How about jigs? I'm going to tell you right now, if you think you're going to throw this sucker on a fly rod, please don't do it. Unless you really don't like the fly rod you have and you need an excuse to get a different one, well then go ahead, throw it on that fly rod, because you'll be calling us pretty quick going, yep, time for a new rod. And we got you. We'll gladly sell you one. And again, just going to trim those legs a little bit shy of the last ones. You know, kind of the way this goes. There we go. So that's the rear portion, or tail section, whatever you want to call this. The first three shanks done. And I told you before, like, this on its own would be a very deadly fly. But we're not going to call it good. We got to finish this thing. We're going to keep going. We're going to get gnarly. Time to switch the heads on the vise. So I'm going to turn the camera off here for a second, get that swapped out, and we'll be back with the hook. We're back. So told you we were going to play with a big hook today. So this is a 1/2 ounce jig on a 4/0 hook. Big, monstrous, huge, whatever you want to call it. This is the jig world. Let's get some thread going. Of course, I do like to pull some shenanigans at this point. You connect this however you think, you know, is the best way, or if you like wire, this is where wire comes in. You can use braid, you know, all these different ways of doing this. I like to use a shank and really hammer this thing down. It's not coming out, right? So there's more than one way to accomplish that. Make sure it's very strong and all that. But this is what I like to do. So here we've got a Spawn 19mm shank. I'm going to wrap that right on top, which is the bottom of our jig. I really want to solidify this. Make sure you've got some good angles on there, as well as straight wraps. And then we will get this tail section added here. So this is how we took it off the vise. This hook is now upside down, even though this is tied 360. I do like to have the weight of each shank in a certain orientation. And so for me, this is the proper way to put it onto the hook. Just going to use my fingertips here and kind of bend that arm down a little bit, as it's about time to tie that sucker right down. Now it's just going to go down a little bit easier for me. A little pressure on each wrap and help it right there. We just need it to tie all the way down so that it's kissing the rest of that shank, and then we know it's going to be as strong as possible. But this is where, again, we're going to go through all that effort. A little Superglue Gel here on both sides of that, and then everything's going to get a kiss of Superglue as it just winds its way through those thread wraps, and this sucker is going nowhere. And that's the whole point. Tie it as strongly as possible. And then we'll get into some more feathers. So again, not the most exciting fly as far as, you know, a different technique as you go. It's a repeat situation. However, it's up to you if you want to make it interesting and fun. And this is about where it starts to really turn into something different, where we've already talked about the progression of size in your feathers. and all that good stuff, both in length and in width of the fiber. But now, you know, we're going to darken this as we go a little bit. So in this next one, we've progressed into 2 blue feathers by dropping out a little chartreuse. In this next section though, we're going to up that a little bit more even with a grizzly blue now in the mix. And as far as a full feather count, let me get these restacked here real quickly. All right, on this section, we're looking at 2 chartreuse feathers, 1 white feather, 3 regular blue, and 1 grizzly blue. There's a lot going on right there. Once you see it start to wrap here, it'll all make sense. All right, got it trimmed out. So at this point, and get these bad boys tied in, and like so. Just want all those feathers tied in nicely, one piece, not 7 separate feathers. You want to think of that as one entity, one piece of feather. Really get that tied in very securely. And now we can tie in yet another section of legs. And at this point, man, you can really go crazy on the legs as well. This is yet another element that you can use to alter the overall look and feel of this jig. I'm gonna stick pretty basic, I think. This is where you know, tying at home, I can get myself into a little bit of trouble, not in a bad way, just go through a lot of materials this way. All right, so instead of veiling it over the top and splitting them, I'm just going to start going 2 per side now. And I really want a lot of rubber legs coming off this bad boy. So I'm going to tie this, and as far as how far back, I'm going to start considering, at least on this first one, because of the bulk here, with adding that shank and all that, it's going to eat up a lot of each wrap. So if I can get 3 wraps on this first section, I'm a happy camper. I call that pretty standard. 4 is a bonus. And you'll know when you're going to get that 4th wrap after you've tied these a while, because the feathers that you're working with are going to allow that. And it's not so much the underbody, it's the feathers. And I can assure you right now, I have put a beating on the saddles that I've got. And like my feather count is not looking great, and so I've had to get a little creative in finding a way to still tie the flies or jigs that I want to get accomplished, and some of that means using some Schlappen. So in this grouping, we've also got Schlappen involved, as well as just, you know, the standard hen saddle. So don't be shy is the whole point. Get creative. Find a way. There's always a way to get it done. And some of them are just more aesthetically pleasing, I guess. But the whole deal is this: it's not what makes us say, "Ooh, that's pretty." The fish have to like it too. So if you're looking at a fly or a jig and you go, "Man, I don't know what's going to eat that," but yet it just smacks on the water, well, I guess beauty sometimes is in the eye of the fish holder. So just stick with it. Don't be too closed off to new ideas when it comes to putting some materials on a hook. That's all. Try it, adjust it, make it yours. If it's not in your wheelhouse and doesn't work for you, don't force it. All right. Get these bad boys going. I'm excited to see this grizzly pop a little bit. The grizzly blue that I have is not a very sizable saddle. It's a great, beautiful saddle. It just doesn't have a lot of big feathers. And so we'll see how much of this grizzly really pops through here. I did get 2 wraps. I've got a good feeling about this. I'm going to just go ahead and say I'm going to get 4 wraps on this guy. Buried that first set of legs there on your side. I'm just going to get a wrap in front now on your side and then on my side as well. Again, maintaining those wet fingertips is just, it's going to save your sanity, I think. There we go. Let's See, especially when you get into Schlappen, like it's a different different reaction on some of those fibers. You know, they're not as webby and all that. They're a little thinner, and so they want to kind of go their own direction sometimes, and you just take your time. Oh, try not to move the vise out of zone there, and take your time. You got to tell those fibers sometimes where to go. They'll just take off on you. You know, don't let them wander. Get that thread through there, and go 4 or 5 wraps just to solidify all those quills. Remember, you got 7 quills that you're tying down. It's a lot of meat in there. So good thread wraps, make them strong. Again, 1 cut to get as much as possible there. And you can see not a whole lot to clean out. Again, it'll tell you where to go. Just gotta listen to it ever so slightly. Sometimes it works better just use those fingertips, but you do what makes you happiest. So you can see a little bit of that grizzly effect now popping through there. It's not going to be overdone. It's just going to be a little glimpse of the future as we progress up through this jig. But this is looking pretty snazzy already. And if you're wondering, yes, the color combo of blue with Chartreuse is deadly. Get all these legs now here. I got those 4 from your side. Somewhere in this adventure, I've got 4 on my side. Bring them all back at once. Line it up, find where that previous cut was, and cut right in front of it on this one. Nothing to it. We're making progress, folks. We are making progress. Tie all those little tag ends down. And now we're ready for that next section. Oh, that was pretty good timing, actually. If there's a such thing as a good spot for that thread to break, that was it. Less than ideal? Sure. Is it the end of our game? Negative. Take a time out. Sub in. Back in business. There's our old piece of thread. I do want to get this other little section out of here. Ta-da. I'll come one more time, make sure everything stays connected on those previous wraps. And now I can kind of start to give some traction here on this upper portion. It's very slippery, very well painted and all that. So now it's got a little grip, if you will, but we don't need that until we get into that next section of legs, and we'll pull forward. So let's come back one more time and get our next section of feathers tied in. So on this section, again, to follow the progression that we've got going, this one is going to drop a blue feather. So 1 less blue feather in this section, which brings us to 2 blue. We've got this time 2 grizzly blue. We're going to have 1 white feather and 2 chartreuse. So these little black lines showing up here from that grizzly. So now we're going to double that up, and you'll start to see this cute little progression of color and darkness as we go forward. Get all that tied all the way back there. Trim out these little front sections that we just don't need, and it's going to line up with the back side of where that drop is in our jig, which is fortuitous to say the least. Just kind of use it as a little guideline too. As you get into tying more and more of these, you get to learn the spacing of these jigs, the same as you do on big hooks, all that good stuff. The more you do it, it just becomes second nature. There we go. Get all those tied down. And now back to the legs. And again, we're going to follow up since we started doing 2 per side now. We're going to keep that up, do 2 per side again. So these are not cheap, right? So if you're thinking, you're going to tie a bunch of these for $10 and fish all season. That's not the case. I'll just be honest, that's not how it works. These require a lot of material. So before you go gung-ho and decide this is what I want to do, make sure you do a little planning and go, well, you know, maybe this season I don't buy 20 saddles of different color, whatever. Maybe you do, but you can make it work. It doesn't have to be very daunting where you're like, man, I have to buy all this at once. No, you don't. You can probably get started with what you've got at home, at least to some extent. Maybe not the full extent. You know, it's tying, and it's the same whether it's fly tying, jig tying. Like it becomes an accumulation of materials, knowledge, and it's honestly something that, you know, lasts a lifetime if you want it to. Not many things you can do as hobbies or sports that are lifelong endeavors, but this is one of them. You know, with some givens. Your hands still work, your eyes still work to some degree. You know, all that good stuff, of course, comes into play. But for the most part, you can strap together something on the vise. All right, one more time. All the legs come forward. So the 4 on my side, the 4 on your side. I've even grabbed an extra one from the previous set. We don't need that. Just these 8 would be great. A little position to hold them in there for just a little bit, and then bring up all those beautiful feathers one more time. Coax down both sides. So the other beauty of this section of feathers is one of those chartreuse turns into a darker chartreuse. So we've got like a fluorescent yellow, chartreuse yellow in the back portion. And now part of that darker progression moving forward is not just the grizzly in the blue, but also going into a true chartreuse green. And it'll, especially with that fluorescent yellow, chartreuse yellow jig head, that darker green, chartreuse green is really going to pop as we get toward the front of this fly. So get legs pulled back, feathers in front. Those things looking pretty cute. Might post later. Keep all those fibers coaxed down and back. And so remember I talking about that filling in that space right there. So now we're up to where that neck section, if you will, really begins on this jig. And so I'm bringing that thread back now. We'll catch it on this wrap. And let's see how much fluff comes out. Yeah, it's not too shabby. Some of that Schlappen gets spindly, right? We already talked about the possibility. And so not a big, oh no, it's just what it is. It's Schlappen. And so there's that factor. We've got the Grizzly blue. I don't have a lot of huge feathers left on that saddle. So they don't show out as much, but they're in that core. And they, you know, the black portion from the Grizzly really changes the entire look of this thing. And one cut, big chunk, get all that good stuff out. A little trim work. And hopefully you guys can see what's going on here as you're watching this. So again, now we're starting to pull in that little aquamarine feel even more. So we've got the aquamarine in the legs, but to emulate that with these feathers, again, it's just a combination of the right chartreuses mixed with a little bit of blue, and then add that grizzly blue, and now you're adding contrast inside of a progression. And I'm telling you, it catches fish like crazy. It really does, but it's so pleasing just to look at. Again, maybe I'm the oddball, but I'm just being honest with you folks. I love looking at a beautiful jig or a beautiful fly when it's done. Section number 6 for our feathers here. Let me restack a little bit. Again, they don't like to be set to the side. You know, they want to be put together and subbed in right away. They want to be in the game, on the court, on the field, whatever you want to call it. They don't want to sit on the sidelines. They're not good at sitting there waiting. But tying on camera is about the only way to go. This video would be 5 hours if I didn't do that. Maybe even longer. There we go. Get that tied in like so. Nothing to it. I don't need to trim that out. I'm just going to mash it all down there. We're getting into the big part here where it's just a lot going on, and that's okay. Take your time. Take a deep breath. You're going to be just fine. Get some more legs. I know. About that time. So we'll get our next 4 legs cut, and then we're going to do the same again. 2 on your side, 2 on my side. Except, I don't know if you can tell this or not, but we're getting close to the end. We're almost done with this monstrous jig. And kudos to you guys for sticking with. I hope that there's somebody still watching this. And I know this is not always an easy thing to watch a lengthy video, but I greatly, greatly appreciate all of you who do. All right. 2 on my side. And let's do 2 on your side as well. Grab them, mash them. And got that spacing set up again for 2 wraps behind, it looks like. And then hopefully we've got enough fiber on there to get 2 wraps in front. And if we do, boy oh boy, just that much closer to being done and ready to go fishing. Actually rained a little bit this week. I don't know where you guys, if it's raining where you guys are, but it rained here. And it has not rained in quite some time. And so not only did it just smell good, you know, bring everything back to life a little bit, green up all those plants and flowers, all of that good stuff. It's another indicator that summer's coming to an end. Fall's right around the corner, winter's waiting, and those fish are about to start moving. Like, it's just a great vibe. I love that whole feel. And so needed to bring something special to the camera today. And this is about the best way I know how. A lot of customers coming in looking for, you know, jig time materials. Man, oh man, we've got it. We've got all of it. So if you need it, by all means, come in, you know, grab some new materials, but then don't be shy. Let's have that conversation. Talk about, hey, maybe it's time for a whole new mindset when we come to tying our own jigs. Just saying, not necessary. I'm not going to force anybody. But again, you're going to go to that much effort to, you know, pour your own lead, paint your own lead, whatever it might be. Man, make the most of it. And to me, that means finishing it off with a beautiful offering to these fish. And there we go. Just need these few fibers to release off of that section for me. There we go. Nothing to it. I'm tying this off on the bottom side, as you can see. So please forgive me for just a couple seconds here, and I'll get that turned back over for you so you can all see again. There's 3 wraps, 4 wraps. I'll call that good. Bring that up, get my thread in front. I don't have to wonder where it is. And now I can cut all those quills out again. Missed one. Got them. I have got such a pile of feather trimmings going on over here. Look at this bad boy. This thing's getting pretty beefy. That's what we want. We're not tying a little nymph today. Unless you want to call this a salmon nymph. Even at that, that's a stretch. We'll just call it what it is. A jig masterpiece. All right. Enough of that. Get all those butt ends tied down very, very, very well. Don't want anything slipping here, pulling out of those thread wraps, releasing, undoing itself. We're not into that. We're experts. We're pros here. Let's go ahead and do it the right way. All right, final section of feathers. Let's see if I can restock this one nicely. Well, there we go. So this final section now is just all that green chartreuse, and it's all Schlappen for the chartreuse at this point. I don't have a saddle in a dark chartreuse that has, well, I just don't have a saddle in dark chartreuse. I'm not crying, just letting you know the switch is to grab some Schlappen. Don't even hesitate. Just grab it and go. So we've got 3 of the Chartreuse Schlappen now, that darker green, and then we've got 4 Grizzly blue saddle feathers for, again, our last section of 7 feathers. So this is 7 by 7, and hence the 49 feathers for this jig. If that bugs you and you need to add one more feather in that last little section just to get to the 50, you know what? Do it. By all means, have at it. Nobody's going to complain. You don't even have to tell anybody. You can just have a secret little giggle all to yourself on the side of the river, whatever it might be. And let's get these last legs cut out here. So, again, 2 to you, 2 to me. That's a big fly, or big jig. I love it. Lots of fluff, lots of flow, movement, all that good stuff. We got it halfway back. So again, we're looking, roughly 2 wraps in back, 2 wraps in front. It doesn't look like there's space for it, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to be able to cram a little bit extra on that last wrap. And to your side. Bingo. And pull all those forward again. And just temporarily time down, get them out of the way. Get those first couple wraps that are so key. Make sure they're clean, and having stuff out of the way is the best way to do that. Coax all those beautiful fibers down now. And you can see where one miss, one lapse in concentration, it doesn't matter where it is in this fly, it's going to throw off the rest of it, right? So again, don't get in a hurry on these. Don't try to rush them. It's just take your time, pay attention to what you got going on, and be diligent. If you can do all that, man, these come out very cleanly, and the fish will thank you. There we go. Those last legs tied in here are released. I'm going to get those feathers on your side in front, and you just kind of keep progressing as we move forward and finish this bad boy. A lot going on. Like I said, I'm very grateful to all of you who decided to take time out of your busy schedule and go, well, let's see what Pete's whipping up today on the vise. We do appreciate that. All right, there it is. Let's see if we can tie this thing down. I think we'll be all right, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. There we go. Some really good thread wraps there. Really feel it pull down, cinch in there as far as you can, and solidify those last feathers. One final time, trim out that last chunk. So this is where it gets a little bit goofy sometimes. This last bit of feathers or last section. And so how do we clean that up? Let's say we don't want to sit here and trim for 10 minutes. All right, I got you. First, due diligence. Once again, this is part of it. Brush all that goodness out. Release any trapped fibers. Release any trapped legs. And once that's done, you can start coaxing everything back to the proper positioning and go, all right, time for that one final just absolute tie down, right? But then that's going to give us a clean thread neck, which fine, and you can call that good. A lot of times I do. However, we're thinking of a little bit, one last kiss, if you will, to finish this thing off in just grand fashion. And for me, yep, we're going to incorporate a little bit of spawn dub and a little bit of shaggy dub, and it will just pop as the final note to this little sonnet that we put together, a little song that we're going to sing to the fish. There we go. Got a thread loop there. Oh, just make sure, and this is again, go ahead and get your fingertips wet. Just coax these final fibers, and they will be less apt to grab onto the thread, which is great. We don't want to disturb anything at this point. And now I can wrap forward. My knot is secure on that loop, so I'm going to open it back up because we twisted it closed 3 times with going around it with the thread. Once that's open, now I do have a little ladder here already put together of, again, this is UV Kingfisher Blue Spawn Dub and Chartreuse Shaggy Dub. I just want to get that into my loop, find my spinner, and get this loop closed, and then I can start manipulating where these fibers are. So I just want to thin them out and spread them out a little bit. Don't need a chunk of anything, in one spot. Kind of want it all loosey-goosey, nothing real specific, but you can see like this is going to give a pretty nice finished look here. And you, by all means, you could throw in a little black shaggy dub too, and line up with that Grizzly element that we incorporated, but you sure don't have to. Again, you don't even have to do this last step. I just think it really finishes this fly off in style, and it's still got more movement, and I love anything that adds another element of movement, and this one also offers that small bonus of another contrast point. So we talked about it before. We started here with that fluorescent yellow or hot yellow, and we're going to progress back to it. But along the way, we're going to disrupt and add a bunch of contrast, both in darker chartreuse and then in the blues and the Grizzly, adding a little bit of black on top of that blue. Like win, win, win. Try not to get any of these things going out toward the front. It's almost impossible to completely avoid that, but do your best, and that's it. That's all you can do. So let's tie this thread loop off. A couple good thread wraps to grab, and then once again, just going to keep coaxing back all that shaggy until I've got as much of it in my control as possible, and then really get a good thread neck built right between that last wrap and the jig head itself. And you can see nothing's moving on this thing. It is built for abuse, and it's a good thing because these fish are not going to be nice to it, and that's great. Whip finish time. And let's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 5 on each one here today. Really get that knot solidified, and we'll be ready to go. Nothing to it. Cut that thread out. And you see these little bits of shaggy now that still just didn't want to play nice and refused to come back. Well, just like the feathers, now is when we say goodbye to them. They could have gone to the river, could have had a free ride, and instead they wanted to go the wrong direction, and so we just leave them home. We don't take them. There you have it, folks. Time for a little head cement. This, to me, is a very big flex. If you're a jig tyer and you want to sort of separate yourself from the norm and what everybody else is going to be tying and tossing. So does it matter? Yep, sometimes it really does. Those fish, you know, it's just like anything else. You show them the same thing over and over, and they go, "Man, this is pretty boring. I don't think I need to eat that." But then you toss something just a little bit different, a little unique, be it different movement, different color, different size. You know, sometimes you will find that recipe for success by accident. But I can tell you this: you don't find it from the couch. You've got to be out there. You got to be fishing. And so again, fly tire, jig tire, doesn't matter. There's something here for you. And I hope you were able to find something that will make your flies and jigs not only better, but more enjoyable to tie. So there you have it, a monster leggy boy style feather changer on a 4/0 jig. Nothing to it. I had a blast tying this with you guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, by all means, please hit like, please hit subscribe. We will see you all on the water.